Ever wonder why your favorite online services are available anytime, anywhere like magic? Like how you can watch your favorite shows without a hitch online, or how do your social media feeds update in real time no matter where you are in the world? Well, this seamless experience is powered by an extensive, invisible network that underpins our digital lives. Behind the scenes is the cloud's global infrastructure, the technological backbone enabling not just movie streaming and social networking, but also supporting financial transactions, healthcare systems, and much, much more. Today, we're diving into the specific terminology and components of AWS Global Infrastructure, examining their characteristics and differences. This exploration will provide us a better understanding of how companies or even individual users like us should strategically provision our resources within this vast network. First up, we have to understand what is latency. Latency refers to the time that it takes for a request to travel from its source to the destination and for the response to make its way back. So obviously, the further the distance between the source and destination, the longer this echo takes to return. For instance, when you click on a link or stream a video, your requests zip through many networks to reach a server. So low latency is always a good thing. Now let's talk about regions. Regions are specific geographical locations where AWS clusters and groups its infrastructure. Each region is a separate and isolated area that effectively reduces latency by hosting the data closer to the users. Basically, any user residing closer to the region that the data is hosted on would have a faster data transmission. AWS has provisioned its cloud in more than 30 regions all over the world, including North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia. So you just don't randomly select regions when you start deploying your applications. You select a region closest to your users for providing them faster downloads and response time experience. You additionally may consider compliance with the laws like GDPR or other data residency regulations, as governments may require companies to store and process data within a specific geographic boundaries to protect users' privacy and data sovereignty. Let's now look at the region's characteristics. Each region is spread out and fully independent and isolated from other regions. So let's say there is an earthquake, tsunami, or flood in one region. The other regions will not be impacted and will function seamlessly. With that being said, it sometimes also makes sense to deploy your code or application to multiple regions based on your requirements. Another characteristic is that the regions are resource and service specific, meaning that when you're in the AWS console, you'll see that you'll have to select a region before you start creating your resources. Any resources that you create will be hosted and processed on that specific region. Now let's talk about availability zones. Within each region, we have multiple availability zones or AZs. Each AZ contains one or more data centers that are physically separated or isolated from each other. Well, there is no official documentation in the AWS where AWS tells us exactly how many data centers exist in an availability zone. It says there are one or more data centers operating in each AZ. But anyways, these data centers and these AZs are the place where the actual servers or the compute resources that we rent operate in. Now let's talk about the characteristics of each AZ. First, they are physically separated and they use different network facilities and different power grids. That's one way they are isolated. They are also connected among themselves within a single region through high throughput, low latency links. AZs are fault tolerant, meaning that if one AZ goes out of service, the other should not be impacted. And AZs allow for high availability. Now, that's the word you hear a lot when designing and implementing your services on the cloud, meaning that if you distribute your applications across multiple availability zones and one zone fails, your application should still run because it's running in another AZ and the other AZ is still functioning. Okay, now let's look at some of AWS regions and AZs in its console. For example, let's look at the Oregon or US West 2 region. Within this region, we can see that there are actually 4 AZs named US West 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D. In another region, let's say the Northern Virginia or US East 1 region, for example, there are 6 availability zones named US East 1A through US East 1F. To help you better understand the mentioned terms, you can take a look at this visualization. It would be something like this. So first we have regions. Each region has its own AZs, and each AZ have one or more data centers. So you can see that you have various options to deploy your application in a single or multiple regions, and also within those regions, you have the option to use multiple AZs as well to provide the best service to your customers in terms of faster transmission and better high availability. Okay, lastly, edge locations. These locations and sites have less relevancy to the previous terms that we discussed. Edge locations, which they are also known as point of presence sites or PUP sites, are located in major cities and metro areas worldwide. They are more closer to end users compared to regions and availability zones. You can think of it as a mini data center that are more distributed globally and used specifically by Amazon CloudFront, which is AWS's CDN service to cache copies of content for faster delivery to users, but it's not used to provide computing resource like EC2 or anything similar to the customers. You can just take a look at this map and see there are way more locations compared to AZs and regions. Okay, just a quick review of the keynotes to remember. For the region, keep in mind that regions are different physical locations in the world that AWS provides its services. You should select the proper region closest to your users, and regions contains multiple AZs. For the availability zones, keep in mind that an AZ contains one or more data centers. These data centers are the place where the physical compute resources that you rent and you deploy your applications to. You don't want to forget that if one AZ goes down, the other AZs within that region still operate. Multi-AZ deployments provide high availability. And for the edge location, keep in mind that they are mini data centers that are more distributed, used specifically for the CDN service, and their purpose is to decrease the CDN network latency. Okay, that wraps up our journey through AWS Global Infrastructure. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and see you in the next video.